Okay, you guys see a Google Doc?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Awesome, cool. And I'll make sure to spotlight all of us so we are all visible at all times in the Zoom thing. Cool. All right. Three, two, one. Here we go.
Right.
Carla,
Yeah.
Matthew, good morning. Happy Friday. How you guys doing?
Good
Just
morning.
great.
Doing great. We were just
Thanks.
saying it's not morning for Carla. She's
That's true.
uh she's in Germany, so
Ah,
it's evening for her Friday and about to go off for the weekend. So yeah, Carla, hopefully this is helpful and you can have some things to think through over the weekend and start next Monday with a little bit more clarity.
that would be fantastic.
Cool. Should we, Matthew, set the stage real quick and share some context? So Carla was one of our beta cohort members last month when we did our very first inbound sales ninja cohort. She had a few questions that she wanted to get additional help with on the offer front, on the content front, on the kind of marketing and positioning front. And so we decided to do a little, since we know, and Matthew, I think you're with me on this one. We get a lot of similar questions via email, via DMs. We thought it would be beneficial to kind of dig into some of the questions that Carla had and then share the recording with other folks. So that's kind of what we are going to be doing here, but maybe you want to share some of the overview of what we're going to be digging into?
Yeah, so I think we just want to ask a couple of clarifying questions of you, Carla, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. We understand what you do, who you do it for. And
Hmm.
then you sent over a couple of questions around your landing page, your like strategy for your niche on LinkedIn, what kind of posts you should do, and a quick look at your LinkedIn profile. So those are the things that we want to go over. And then any kind of last questions that you have, we're happy to cover as well. So that is the agenda. So why don't we just start by asking you, Carla, what do you do? So what's your offer and who do you do it for?
Hey, I work as a professional coach with business executives throughout Europe. I have worked with Americans, but right now it's throughout Europe.
Okay.
Also, level managers in that range. Not so much the CEOs, although I have had some, but it's more upper management.
Is there a size of company that you tend to work with, or is it all over the board?
It's all over the board. It depends where I get requests. I work primarily with a digital coaching, with several digital coaching platforms. So they do the acquisition and I do the coaching. They do the back end and I do everything else with the client, with the coaching clients. So that means I have clients from insurance, banks. I have a lot of tech clients because in my profile, that's in my background. Because at one point I founded a startup using the metaverse, so metaverse as a service, and that tends to attract people of that tech background. But it's really uh, quite wide the number, the kind of clients that I work with.
Okay. I understand that. I think I lost you for just a second on did you say that you partner with people who basically acquire the clients and then you work with like they acquire the clients and then they send them to you?
That's yeah, basically it's a digital coaching platform. They work internationally. There's a real big one in the United States. It's called Sharpest. There's Better Up, Better Coach. I work with Coach Hub, and yeah, this is a way to generate regular income. But as I mentioned at one point, my goal is to create my own business where I'm getting these similar or same clients, but where I earn 3 times as much.
And would you earn 3 times as much because these online digital platforms, they're taking a cut?
They're taking a huge cut. Yeah.
Yeah, on a recurring basis. It's not like a one-time fee.
No,
Gotcha.
they sell licenses to large companies, and these companies then give these to their employees, and they're done with it. And
Okay.
then the employees then can go over the platforms and they book me through the platforms.
Okay, awesome. So just so everyone potentially watching this recording is on the same page, and correct me if I'm wrong, Carla. So you're an executive coach. You don't usually work with CEOs, but you're working with upper management, all types of and sizes of companies, but mostly tech. And the main way that you get clients right now is through a couple of partnerships that you have with these online platforms where they will send you deals. That's the benefit to you. But you have to pay a hefty fee. That's the benefit to them. And so what you're looking to do is generate more leads from LinkedIn so that you can charge your full rates and actually keep the full rates. Is that all correct?
That's all correct.
Awesome. Well, that's great on clarifying. Any other clarifying questions that you have, Daniel?
No, I think you nailed it. I think that makes complete sense. I think, from what I've seen, other coaches and other even service providers do, like, I think it's very common for people to start with a platform like that where, like, you kind of outsource your client acquisition, but obviously it's not ideal because they're taking on a lot of the upside. So luckily, I think we can help there. So maybe we dig into the checklist. I think, Carla, when you shared some of the questions that you had and the things that you wanted us to review, you started with your newsletter landing page, and then you also mentioned LinkedIn. I think we
Yes.
can do all of that. However, as we briefly chatted about the call that we were gonna have yesterday, Matthew and I, and we thought it would be better to actually start with LinkedIn instead of the newsletter, just because it's where most of the attention begins, right? And so it's kind of the top of funnel part of your client acquisition system. And so if you can send over your, like, in the chat, in the Zoom chat, you can drop your LinkedIn profile. We can also look it up if you don't have it handy. But we can start there with LinkedIn, take a look at your content, and then take it from there. Does that sound good?
Okay, there's one thing that I'd like to mention here. One reason that so many marketers are trying to sell to coaches is because they're in the last 5 years in a huge increase of professional coaches with accreditations, but even more coaches that have no accreditations, because this is not a protected label. Anyone can call themselves a coach.
Yeah.
What's different about me, and this is, I think, important for you guys to know, is that I've been doing this for 10 years. I have written 2 books. I have all kinds of accreditations. And this online coaching has developed, but it's not a beginner's type of thing. I wouldn't get the jobs that I get, even with the digital platforms, if I didn't have these qualifications. So, and there's also the coaching platforms that sell to the top tier, like Toyota, who I worked with the head of marketing for Europe. And then there's coaching platforms that sell to everything else. So, and I think that's important because
Yeah.
the way I can also charge the rates that I can charge, and I do have several, but not very many, clients at these top rates, is because of my experience and also because of what I'm bringing to the table. Okay?
Yeah, I love that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Quick, just to crystallize that, I completely agree with you. I appreciate you kind of mentioning that. The more and more that I have been posting content, and I think this is something that we've chatted about, Matthew, but I like to say, or I've been coming to the conclusion that your expertise is your moat, especially now in the age of AI when anyone can write a LinkedIn post that sounds semi-smart, and so it's actually your expertise and, like, all of the years of experience that you have that will ultimately differentiate you from everyone
And
else.
I do that, then that's the point. I need to get to be able to communicate in the way, even when, and that's where I'm really struggling. Also, last thing before we look at LinkedIn, my entire professionalization is changing. In 5 years from now, there'll be so many AI coaches that are so good. There'll be very few human coaches, and those people that can afford the human coaches will be paying the top prices. And it's one of those areas that is changing really, really fast, which is why I'm embracing it. I'm also going to create my own coach bot, Carla, and moving
Let's
forward.
go. Amazing.
So,
So I'll just call out a couple of things really quick. So what you just told us, where you're like, hey, by the way, I'm not like all these other coaches. I actually have, a decade of experience. That's what you want to come off when people come to your LinkedIn profile. That's the impression you want every single person to have. So as we look through your LinkedIn profile, let's ask, is that the impression we're getting? No? Okay, we need to make some tweaks. And then on how you think the future will change with coaching, that's great content for you to write about. So we're just getting started. So
okay.
Daniel, do you have the link to her LinkedIn?
No, I had it open because
I have it
Daniel
right
told me
here as well.
prepared. So I have everything open here and I will
Love it.
go and get the
Boom.
link.
I got it.
You got it already. Okay, Daniel.
Perfect.
Yes.
Matthew, do we want to start with profile or do we want to do content first?
I think let's start as if we were a random viewer. So Daniel and I, we're gonna pretend.
Yeah, okay.
We're gonna pretend like we're just scrolling on LinkedIn, just enjoying our Friday, maybe a little lazy Friday, and we run across one of your posts. And so let's scroll down to her posts and take a look. Okay, so first question I have already is I see in your bio, and I see that second post is in German
Yeah,
versus some are in English. So
correct.
that's the first question we should answer. Who are you trying to attract? You're just trying to attract people in Germany or across the EU?
I don't know, Matthew, because I've tried different things. And if I only write in English, right now I'm working with 80% German. But my English posts get more traction. So I really don't know. And this is about the half-day workshop that's taking place on Monday with AI and coaches. I haven't been able to answer this question.
Okay. I have an opinion.
Yes.
I wonder if Daniel shares it, but my opinion is that you should write in English, and it's the international business language. I would assume most of your potential prospects in Germany can also read English,
Yeah.
and it's just going to attract a much broader base of people. That would be my opinion.
I completely agree. I think there's instances where it might make sense to write in other languages that are not English and you can have great results. But if you're doing that with a lot of intention, and I'll give you an example just to make the contrast. So after seeing the traction that I've been getting with my content, I've obviously a shiny object, but I've considered having another LinkedIn profile or another page somewhere where I just repurpose all of my content in Spanish because I speak Spanish too, and I know there is very like compared to amount of and the supply that there is for marketing content or good marketing content in English, in Spanish there isn't that much content, and so there's like an arbitrage. And so, but you can see how I have a very clear, if I were to do that, there is a very clear intention and strategy for choosing Spanish over English in that situation. But otherwise, if you just want to attract the larger number of people possible, I would just agree with Matthew and do that in writing English.
I get that, Daniel, what you said. However, the difference is you live in the States and you work with Americans mostly or international in English. I live in Germany. And this also makes me really unusual, is that I'm an American and I have all the cultural understanding and language of a German. And that this is something that Germans know when they work with me, but I don't know if they know that if they read my posts in English. Kind of like one of those, actually, it's a quality that I have that I don't think I've been able to market. So does that change anything for you?
Well, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Do you have any thoughts there, Daniel?
I mean, I think either one. Like I think the real answer here is there's different ways to go about it. There is no right or wrong answer. Like you can make it work with either language, in my opinion. It's just trade-offs, right? And so by definition, if you're writing in German, that's gonna mean less reach, and that also is gonna mean that most of the people you're gonna attract and are gonna read your stuff are just gonna be people who live in Germany or speak German, which is by definition a much smaller pool of people that people who also speak English. So I think that's the
It
trade-off.
is. It is. However, it is, of course, Austria, Luxembourg, Switzerland.
Totally,
But
totally.
okay, I see that there's a lot that speaks for doing this in English. And when I do write in English, I get more traction, especially since our course and our kind of group, our LinkedIn group, which is really great, by the way.
The other question, like I don't know how many people use LinkedIn in Germany. It may be a lot, it may be few. But if you're still kind of hesitant, I would just go and look at a little bit of the data and then maybe try and find some other accounts. Are there any accounts that are writing in German that are succeeding? And just get a feel for the landscape before you make a final decision. But I think that this is something you actually want to make a decision on and not flip-flop back and forth between. So
Okay, got it.
maybe we don't come to the decision right here, but that's okay. Let's continue moving forward. So next, I just want to check for volume. So Daniel, we can see 2 days ago she posted, 5 days ago. Let's just scroll down like 5, 10 times really quick. Let's see how quickly we're going through time. Okay, let's see, 3 months, so a year ago, right there. So probably posted 15 times or so in the last year. So that's the number one variable that you can change, Carla. So first step is just increasing the volume. Just turn the dial on the volume. You want to be posting far more frequently. So I would say, like if you're just incredibly busy, I would say a minimum of once a week. But otherwise, I would try to write 5, 6, 7 days a week if that's feasible. And the reason why, and like the reason why we started here, by the way, instead of starting with the newsletter, is because whatever the headline says on your landing page for your newsletter, it doesn't matter if nobody ever goes to the page. And
Yeah.
you need to get people actually like consistently consuming your content, checking out your stuff first. And so that's why we're following this order. So okay, now let's say that we ran across this post that's right there. So it says unplugging to innovate, where AI meets nature in coaching.
Yes.
I love the pictures. Has some, and it looks like this post actually did decently well. You got 16 likes, 22 comments.
Yeah.
So I think posting will be first, and then I think nailing these hooks. So you see how it says dot 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 more.
Yes.
I think you just want people to be curious and click. And so that's the goal for every post, and that's where most people like that are posting consistently could improve. What do you think about the hook, Daniel?
Yeah, so my rule of thumb, especially when you're kind of wrapping your head around like the different nuances of writing on LinkedIn, is ideally, and again, going back to our point earlier, there is a bunch of different ways to approach it, and there isn't a right or wrong answer necessarily. But the thing that's for sure is that you want to, as Matthew said, you want to give people a reason. So you want to use this real estate that you have available before the more button to give people a reason to click and keep reading, right? And so the easiest way to do that is to intentionally use this real estate to create some sort of curiosity gap where you're again giving them a reason to click on the see more, and it's very clear what I'm gonna get by clicking the see more, almost thinking about it as a headline. And I think that's the easiest way to think about it when you're starting out. And if we reread these first two sentences here, and we go unplug into innovate question mark where AI meets nature in coaching, I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna get in exchange for me clicking see more, So that would be kind of the easiest way, in my opinion, to increase the effectiveness of those first three lines. But what do you think, Matthew?
Yeah, so basically just summarizing what you said. Basically just make a promise
Yes.
in that first line or two and then deliver on that promise for the rest of the post. So
Yep.
I think the if you scroll down one, Daniel, this one right here was pretty
Much better.
solid, where she
Yes.
said some leaders are afraid AI will replace them, the smartest ones. And so it's almost like saying the bad leaders think AI will replace them, but the smartest ones, the intelligent ones, they do something else, is what you're inferring.
Mhm.
And it makes you curious to click more and see like if that's what you say and what additional context. So that you did really well on that one. So I think you already have like a good idea for this and can continue to improve. But the real big lever with your content right now is just more, just
Mhm.
posting more. Um, we showed you some types of posts that are high converters, but even more than that, it's just like posting consistently for 30 days, for 60 days, is the biggest lever by far you can pull. Anything else with content, Daniel, or are we good to move to the profile?
No, I agree. I think just to crystallize it and make it super clear and tangible, Carla, I would just whatever cadence you have right now, I would make my goal working from there to posting daily, essentially. And obviously, we all have a lot of things going on, and so we're not sure how that looks like for you exactly. But like, I would make it my goal to take it from where I am to be posting daily within the next few weeks or months, and that would be my goal. And once you're there posting daily on LinkedIn, I will start to get a little bit more nitpicky and try to basically do what you did here for this post with every single post, right? Where you're optimizing for reach and effectiveness. But right now, as Matthew said, I think the next step is just more volume.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I know that, but it's a time issue. And I do spend a lot of time on my headlines. And I was trying to get, for example, what you guys just saw, it's also about this workshop that's coming up. Wanted to give a little bit of background of who I am, and I wanted to bring this in with the AI and the coaching, which is why the keywords were in there. But yeah,
Mm,
um, it's a time thing, and yeah, I'm working on it as part of what I want to do, the pieces of the puzzle with my funnel. So here,
yeah.
for some reason, it says English, but you're getting a German. It's in German. You see that?
Um,
You mean the
yeah,
headline here?
Daniel,
Yeah. But
you're
mine's in when I go onto LinkedIn and I click English, but you have German. You see
so
that?
I see I'm on your profile as well separately, and I see the exact same thing that Daniel sees.
I think
In
maybe
German.
Carla,
Well,
maybe
it's not
sometime.
in German. There's German words,
Oh,
but like I still see certified agilist, HPI design thinking coach, AI confidence coach. That's English, but there are a
I
few
don't,
German words in there.
okay, I have a new one here with two little flags. Do you guys have that one with the English flag and the German?
oh, this. So I think sometimes, Carla, depending on what you're using, like I think you might be in your computer, these emojis might show up, but
No,
for some
no, I have
reason,
two little flags, little flags, not, can
oh,
you, how come if you click on German, I think you'll get English.
where I
On
don't see that. Mm.
open, on the top right, you see English on the top
Oh,
right.
yes.
In the corner, now try, there you go. I don't know
Interesting.
why it does that with me, because English is German and German is English, but it is. If you
I
click
did.
on the Deutsch, that's German, Deutsch,
Yeah,
you can
Mm,
now have English.
interesting. I didn't know that was a feature. Maybe that's a feature on LinkedIn that you can customize. I'm not sure. Yeah.
So now you
yeah.
have my English profile.
So no one's everyone who's in English is going to see the other one, which is an issue.
Yes.
Because we're going to be analyzing the wrong profile if we click on
Wrong. It's a
the
bad
Deutsch.
thing. Why is that? I don't know.
So yeah, I would just look at the settings and see if you're able to adjust that because that's
Yes.
that's definitely an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so which one do you want us to look at?
I want you to look at the English one.
Okay.
All right, we'll
German
look at
one.
the English one.
There you are. You're on the English now.
And Carla, just going with what you're saying, yes, it does take this takes time, and the potential payoff is that you could start landing all of your clients from LinkedIn and make, you said, triple the money potentially from the clients that you're selling. So while it is a pretty expensive cost in terms of time investment, it's also a pretty awesome ideal outcome if it works for you.
If it works, because as you know, Matthew and Daniel, coaching is a really personal thing. And it's, I question and I want to do it because I see that it can be really effective, and we'll see if it works for my branch for this sector. We'll see.
Sure.
I'm going to put in the time.
Awesome. Okay, so looking at your profile, I love that you have the little verification next to your name. I love that you have the M.A PCC. I love that you have the LinkedIn Premium. Just taking a look at your banner. So you have a website. What does PCC stand for, by the way?
Professional coaching from the International Coaching Federations. It's the gold standard in coaching. It's international. There are 50,000 members, and you have to do a very rigorous test in order to pass, in order to get this qualification and turn in also recordings of your coaching and so on.
Awesome. So I like in the banner that you have kind of I wouldn't call it social proof, but you have a lot of credibility because you show your certifications. I like that you have your value proposition. So empowering leaders with confidence, AI tools, and quality art-inspired executive coaching. I think the art-inspired is very interesting and potentially a differentiator there. Scrolling down, well, I guess looking at your bio, and it looks like you have a link and you also use the custom button. I would probably just have the custom button and say view my website instead of view my services. Okay, so let's look through this this first the bio. So ICF PCC leadership coach. How many of your, like, what percentage would you estimate of your ideal prospects, so management for tech companies, understand what ICF PCC means?
The human resources people do.
Do you sell to them?
Well, yeah, because the executives, it all gets paid for by human resources. They don't pay for it themselves from their budget.
What percentage of your ideal audience understands that terminology, if you had to give a percentage?
Matthew, I wish I could. I wish I had more data in order to tell you these things. There's a lot of assumptions because some companies do it all through their personnel, their HR department, other people, other
okay. So let's do this. Let's do this. I think the point that I'm trying to make here is, it sounds like you don't know, and I also don't know what ICF PCC, like how many people understand that. I certainly don't, but I'm not your target audience. And since you're not sure that your target audience understands this, I think we should change it to something that they do, and just be more clear. So we could talk about a rewrite, but let's look at the rest of this. So intercultural expert, U.S., Germany. I think that's a cool personal thing that you can add that's unique to you. AI confidence and change strategist. You just mentioned you're trying to lean into AI, so that's great. Hogan plus design thinking certified. I'm familiar with design thinking. I don't know what Hogan is. This is another question which you don't have to answer right now, but what percentage of your audience potentially knows what Hogan is?
Most Americans do, Matthew. That's okay. Hogan personality profiler, that was founded in the United States 30 years ago and is the only science-backed personality profile in the world. It's one of those more expensive type of, let's say, diagnostic tools, personality diagnostic tools. It helps uncover blind spots. It's great for executive coaching.
Cool. Well, yeah, you're free to leave that if you think a lot of people know what it is. Okay, art-inspired perspective shifter, I think is a cool, like, I think you're leaning into that a little bit. And then career development. So I think we definitely simplify this and make it a little bit more clear so that you have a pretty much guarantee that 99% of people understand what you do. And they leave with that feeling of, oh yeah, she's not just a regular coach. What are your thoughts, Daniel?
Yeah, a few things. So my initial thought was there's a lot going on, and well, first let me take a step back and say, Carla, like, anything from this point on, anything that we share is just tough love. We're not trying to be rude. We're not trying to be
No, come
assholes.
on,
No,
constructive criticism. I learned from
yes,
that.
yes.
Need it.
I just wanted to set that reminder because
Yeah,
so sometimes you have to critique something to make it better, and
of course.
that's the whole goal here. So my immediate first reaction when I saw this was first that there is a lot going on, and that second, I as a reader selfishly, and this is a lesson that I try to remind myself of every single day because it's so important but so easy to forget, like the fact that harsh truth is that most people don't really care what you can do. They only care what you can do for them. And so as a reader, I'm
Yeah.
not really sure what's in it for me when I read the headline. And so the two biggest and highest leverage changes that we can make, in my opinion, would be a simplifying it, and we can take a look at some examples and see how personally Matthew and I try to approach our bio headlines. But then, on top of simplifying it, I also think it would be very very impactful to just very clearly try to articulate what it is that you help people with, like not just what you do, but like how they benefit from you helping them do that thing. So that's my take, Matthew. I don't know if you want to add anything there.
That's what I was
No.
trying with the empowering leaders with confidence, my value proposition. Yeah.
So I think something like you could have the first little batch be something like managerial and executive leadership coach. Very clear. Everyone knows exactly what that is. So that's kind of says what you do. And then to say how you help them, you could say something like, you just said empower leaders, and maybe you could touch on your uniqueness right here through art inspired perspective shifts. And then I think kind of what you have here right now is you do have a lot of credibility stuff, but I don't think we have to include all of it. So maybe we have one or potentially two little pieces of credibility we could attach afterwards. So that could be one of your certifications. It could be the number of coaches that you've worked with. It could be the time that you've spent as a coach, like 10 plus years as an executive coach. Any one of those pieces that you feel like gives you the most credibility and differentiates you the most. And that way we're answering what you do, we're answering who you do it for, and why they should listen to you.
Another potential variation too at the end for the credibility part could be names of like prestigious companies that you've worked with. So for example, earlier in the call you mentioned you've worked with the head of marketing for Toyota across Europe. Like that's an amazing piece of credibility. You see how I still remember that from you mentioning it, and so that's something that you could add in there. I feel like almost at the beginning it's the in my opinion the best way to go is to just have or follow a simple formula of I help X people or X group of people do X, Y, and Z, then share some sort of credibility statement that supports that. And then if you want, you can add the personal element at the end. But the other way to think about it too is that you don't have to like necessarily get rid of all these things. The way I would think about it is you can still mention this, and I think this is still very valuable, but there is other pieces of real estate across your profile, across your website, and across your newsletter where people can get to know all of those different things, but they don't need to know all of that right off the bat, right? And so
Sure. Yeah.
the reframe I think is what are the very 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 essential and crucial pieces of information that somebody needs to read here in your bio to see, oh, this person seems to know what they're doing. They seem to be writing about stuff that I might benefit from. I'm gonna go ahead and follow them. That's the entire goal of this section, not to give somebody an entire background check of
Yeah,
what you do.
I totally agree with you, Daniel and Matthew. And to be honest, this is the selection here, what I've put trying not to Try not to overwhelm. At the same time, what we talked about before, I am coming with quite a different USP. And I don't, if I just say I help people, anyone can say that. And yeah, I do help people and it makes it very clear. But does that really then differentiate me from all the other people that say I'm a coach, I help managers? That's my kind of my problem. How do I show
Well,
that
no,
I'm
I hear
different?
you. It's very simple. So the whole copywriting technique is instead of saying people, you say the specific group of people that you help, right? So, and obviously the more specific you can get, the better. So what's a better way of saying I help people is I help leaders.
Tech executives or
Yeah.
managers and executives. And
Or
then, yeah,
tech executives from, Fortune
Okay.
500 companies, and so you see how you can get way, way more specific.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
We
So
that.
just reading
Uh-huh.
that little bio right above, managerial and executive leadership coach. That's really clear. Somebody sees it. They know what you do. I empower leaders through art-inspired perspectives. Okay, that's very different. And then this last piece, worked with Toyota, name maybe a couple of other big companies that you've worked with. That shows that you're actually legit. Like someone should listen to you. I think that serves the purpose we're looking for. Of course, make some tweaks. I don't want to get too much further in the weeds because we're getting a
Yes.
little carried away here.
Yes.
We still have a lot to look at. So hopefully that gives you a good concept there. And the bio is probably the most important part. Um, you have, like I said, that custom button where it says view my services. I would personally change that to visit my website, and I would just use the custom button and get rid of the link that you're using. Scroll down a little bit, Daniel. Let's just touch on the rest of this relatively quickly. And Carla, you're going to have the recording as well.
Mm.
So the about section, hi, I'm Carla. I'm just looking at the hook for it.
Okay.
Not the whole thing, but hi, I'm Carla, executive leadership coach, people and culture expert, and sparring partner for leaders navigating change, complexity, and AI. I like the intro. With 2,500 plus coaching hours, that's another great credibility statement. And clients across industries from tech to pharma, I have managers lead with. I think that's great. I think you
Yep.
actually have something good here. The services section, I'm kind of iffy about. Like, I don't know if people really care about it that much, but you're fine to leave it. And then you
How
don't
can I
have,
make it
okay,
better? How can I make the services section better?
I just don't think that section is very important as a whole.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The featured section looks a little funky to me. Featured with premium. I'm not exactly sure. Oh, you're using recommendations there.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would just have one featured post or potentially two. Uh, One would be to your newsletter. And then the second would be if you have like one post that you're super proud of, that you could just put it up there and if it has a lot of likes or you want a lot of people to read it, then you can have it there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like we don't need to go through experience. Like that's the
Yeah.
main gist of what people are going to look at.
Mhm.
Any last things you want to add there, Daniel, before we jump to the newsletter?
No, I think you nailed it. I think the only caveat, and we also were chatting about this yesterday for you, Matthew, but Carla, if you're in the short term, if you're optimizing for landing clients, it might make more sense to just plug a book a call link here or page instead of a newsletter page because again, there's a trade-off. Obviously, building your email list is great, but like if you just want to start landing clients faster, then the fastest way to get there is to just start promoting and driving traffic to your book a call page.
And that could
where
literally
would
be a calendar link.
Yes.
where would that be on the top then for this service,
Both.
right?
I would do both. Here,
Yeah.
and then with the custom button, as Matthew said, and then you can also create like a little card link here in the feature section that links and leads people to the book a call page.
Oh, okay.
Yep. You can use Matthew's as an example. Like if you want to see how it's executed, Matthew does that.
Okay.
Yep.
On Matthew's on your LinkedIn post, LinkedIn profile, Matthew. Okay.
Yep.
I'll
That's
have a
right.
look.
Awesome. Let's take a look at your newsletter landing page.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that on? Is it the
Here.
link? Let's see.
I
Yeah,
have
Carla's
it.
gonna show
I
you.
have it here as that I could share it with you.
Yes. Can you share with me in the Zoom chat, please, so I can pull it up real quick?
Okay. Well, probably not because it's a document.
Oh,
So
is
yeah.
it public? Can I look at the document?
No, it's it's not public.
Is it
Can
a
I?
Google Doc?
No, it's a Word doc. I worked with Microsoft
Oh,
Word.
Okay.
No.
This is gonna be
okay.
a tough one.
Yes,
Wait, if you let me share, you can see it.
sure. Okay, that works.
Okay.
Yes, let me switch gears here. I'll enable it, and you can go ahead and share your screen. Boom, you
So
should
this
be
is
able.
now in the first stage.
Okay,
You can share it now. You should be able
No,
to.
can you see it? No, not yet.
not yet, not yet.
Okay, wait. So, freigeben. Did you? I can't. Okay, here it is.
There we go. It's loading. Almost there. Boom. Okay, perfect.
So now it's interesting. Matthew has pointed out not just one time with the art inspired coaching. This is what I do on the side is that I have groups that I go to museums with, and I've also combined it to a certain degree with coaching. Hasn't really, it's something that I love doing, and I continue to do that to get away from this screen. But it's not my main focus, and I can't earn that much money with it. So what I wanted to do, and you see that here in my landing page, is the AI area, which is the headline here, bringing together art and science frameworks. Well, actually, start with the pre-headline. Struggling to balance AI efficiency with authentic human leadership. Question. Leading in the AI era, art and science frameworks. My subheadline would be transform AI leadership in just 5 minutes, twice monthly. Get your practical frameworks from Design Change Leadership Lab, developed with bold business executives from leading German and European organizations. I can take out German, just say European. And then, yes, send me the leadership frameworks. And the secondary CTA I want to take out because I should only have one thing on
Yes.
my landing page.
Let's
Only
go.
one
It's
thing.
landing. It's landing. I like
landing. So, and then the freeze. So I have a lot of companies I've worked with: Porsche, SAP, Allianz, Telecom, Toyota, and so on. And then I would have like a tile, a moving tile right underneath for the
Cool.
credibility.
I like that. So before we even dig into the nitty gritty of the copy here, I think honestly the biggest part, and this is where a lot of people get wrong, and like, don't get me wrong, like I've also been victim to this, but I think the strategy part is more important than the copy part, and that should definitely precede. And we should have complete clarity over what the strategy is before we even dig into the copy. And so that's one thing. The other thing is that as we think of the strategy, I think the ideal things, especially for somebody like you who's busy and doesn't have a lot of time for creating content, is we also want to make sure that there is a lot of congruence and there's a lot of alignment between the content that you're putting out on LinkedIn and the kind of the value proposition of the newsletter. Because if you think about it, and you're using LinkedIn as your main driver of traffic, and then your people are seeing posts and content about topic A on LinkedIn, and then they land on your landing page and they see a value proposition that's completely unrelated to topic A and instead is about topic B, then that's not going to work very well because there is not a lot of congruence, And so
Right.
I get it though. It takes time. Like, this is a very iterative process where you kind of figure it out as you write more and create more content. But my take after, and obviously we can look at the copy. I just wanted to share that first, Carla. But I guess my question here would be, what do you think is the in a very simple explain, like in a simple and concise way, like what would you say is the what you're trying to do with the newsletter here, and how do you think that's aligned with what you're doing on LinkedIn?
Well, there was a line on LinkedIn about AI confidence.
Okay. Yeah.
That because that's where I'm getting people that are interested right now.
Yes.
So it's kind of like there's energy there, and I want to ride this energy
100%.
until it's not interesting anymore. It doesn't mean that's going to change my coaching that much, but I'm actually getting people that are interested in this coaching approach
Yes.
to AI, which doesn't mean I tell them I'm not an engineer. I don't tell them a lot
Yes.
about tools. I help them figure things out with their tools.
Yes.
So, and that's a different approach to a lot of other people that are selling strategies or
Yes.
their internal setups and so on. So,
Okay, that makes complete sense to me. And I would love to hear your take on all of these, Matthew, too. The last thing that I'll say, Carla, is that two things. First, I would definitely lean on that hard just because it's a wave, as you said, and I don't think that trend is going anywhere. It's here to stay for sure. And so I would just lean into it as much as you can. I really like the whole AI leadership angle that you're going for. I think there's a very interesting category there. The second thing, though, is what you just explained was very, very clear and compelling. I don't think we're communicating that in the copy here. And so the more we can simplify this to just communicate that both on LinkedIn and on the newsletter, I think you're gonna see much more success. But
that would be wonderful. How do I do
it? Yeah, we can dig into the nitty gritty. Matthew, any thoughts you wanna share here?
No, I agree with all of that. The only thought that I'll share, which is Carla, you brought up the fact that the art stuff isn't a core part of your coaching, which I misunderstood by reading your headline previously, and in your banner, it sounded like that was kind of your unique angle to coaching. Because that's not the case, I think it's worth actually relooking at the like your banner image and your bio on LinkedIn because if that's not a key part of what you're doing, then we don't want to mention it, and people will have the same assumption that I did. So anyway, just that's something that
you
you're
know,
gonna have
Matthew,
to
I
think
guess it's
about.
because I use also art in coaching. It's a method that I have, and I'd like to attract people who are attracted, like you. So I think that would be
Yeah,
cool. But it's
yeah, I
probably
think it's a
just
unique
not, it
angle, and
doesn't make sense.
if it's
Yeah,
a good part of what you do, then leave
yeah.
it. But if it's not, then it's important not to have it if that's not a key part of what
Yeah,
you're doing.
it's
Um,
not a main part, it's a method that I offer. And it comes in my copy here in my website. But I think we were talking about simplifying things and
Yes.
making my message more direct and understandable. Then I should
yes.
really do that and have to make that hard decision and take it out of my LinkedIn. It's in here, it's in my new website.
Yes.
So
I
it's okay.
I
And I have
I,
another website that is just about art talks.
I love
So
it.
yeah.
Carla, so I love that you're willing to make the hard decision. The fact that you're already aware and happy to go and pull the trigger on that, that's huge because most people never get there. So huge props to you for, again, taking the plunge there. I really applaud it. The thing that I'll say though is that it's not like you have to completely get rid of it and not never again mention it again. Like I
No,
think
it's my copy here, but it's further down in my website. Yeah.
yeah. So, okay, I think the clarification is I think you want to keep the copy of your landing page and the copy of your LinkedIn bio as clean and direct and clear as possible. What I was saying was more of you can still talk about those more personal things in your content. So, for example, if you go to my LinkedIn profile, you're going to see that my bio is very direct. You can immediately understand what I do and who I help with. However, if you start to look at my content every week, you're gonna notice that every here and there, or every now and then, I share things that are a little bit more personal. And you can, from that content that I'm sharing every single week, you can infer a few things from my personality and from the type of person that I am, that then builds that kind of affinity with people who are reading my stuff. And so all of that to say,
Good point.
I,
Yeah.
I love the fact that you have that interest. I think it's an amazing method and thing to incorporate in your offer. I don't think it has to be like the leading thing in the headlines and in the copy. across the board, but it's definitely something that you can touch on and speak to every other day, or every time, or every few week, every a few times per week, as you continue to ramp the volume that you're creating content on.
Okay,
That makes
now
sense.
what about this copy? How should I improve this?
Yeah, Matthew,
In your
anything you want to
opinion?
share there?
Yeah, so I think the most important part of a landing page by far is the headline. And
Yes.
so we want people to know what they're going to get. What's the benefit of signing up for your newsletter? And so I kind of get it. If I were a prospect leading in the AI era, it's like, okay, this will maybe help me become a better leader with everything that's going on with AI. And then it says art and science frameworks. So I have a little bit of a question there, like what's the alignment between AI and art and science right there? And
Mm-hmm.
so I think we could change this headline to be a little bit more transformational. Like how is this gonna change me and make me a better leader? What do you think about that, Daniel?
No, I agree. I think, as you said, headline is the single most important part of the copy. I think though the copy is just a reflection of the strategy, or should be ideally a reflection of the strategy that we're going for here. And so the more we can crystallize and clarify that strategy, Carla, the easier it will be to write compelling copy. Um, so as you said, the AI angle, I think, is what you should double down on, in my opinion. And so I would just make not just the headline, but the entire frame of the newsletter about leadership tips or frameworks for or frameworks and tips for leaders who want to do
Right.
a better job or feel more confident
That's
in the
that's where I'm going, and I guess because that's what I'm trying to do. And now it's a question of how do I shift my copy so it's really clear.
Cool. Okay, let's share a few things there. So I think, as Matthew was suggesting, a transformation headline, basically saying you are here right now, in this negative state or experiencing these negative things. By subscribing to my newsletter and reading all the things that I'm gonna be sharing with you, you're gonna go from point A, which is where you are right now, to point B, right? And so you are obviously the expert here, and you know what are kind of the you know very well how to describe the place where people are at when they come to you for help. And so I would just try to describe that as concisely as possible, and then describe the ideal scenario, right? And so, for example, weekly leadership tips to help you go from point A to point B. And you see, it's very simple, and it sounds almost like too dull, but it's clear, it's specific. So that I think is a very easy place to start, just by trying to articulate where or how you would describe point A and how you would describe point B. That's where the benefit and the magic comes from. That makes sense?
It makes sense. I mean, you guys are in this business, but I've spent a lot of time on this trying to make it with these subtleties. And now we're going back to make it more simple, which makes sense. I thought I had it simple. Transform your twice, get your practical frameworks from, and I mentioned them, my brand, and actually the leadership lab. I've already sent out my first one. It comes every second Tuesday.
Love it.
Say that here?
Is that the name? Is the Leadership Lab?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, I like that.
yeah.
You can make it more specific. The AI leadership lab.
Yes.
I also really like the headline. I think could be a killer name, like leading in the AI era.
Yes.
That's a cool name too.
Yes.
Not to make you reconsider. Sorry about that, but yeah. So
That's what it is. That's
Daniel's
exactly
idea of
what
the
it is.
headline, you just want it very clear. Like if I'm a prospect and I'm visiting it, what am I going to get from this?
Yes.
And so, yeah, is it weekly leadership tips to help me go from overwhelmed and stressed out about all of the technological changes to feeling confident that we're at the peak of the market. We're
Mm-hmm.
implementing technology better than all of our competitors. Like, I don't know exactly what that looks like, but the transformation is probably something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So describing that in like 3 to 5 words, the before, and in like 3 to 7 words, the after would be a great headline.
Yes. And I think Justin Walsh on his newsletter page has a great transformational headline that you could draw inspiration from. You could very easily grab that headline.
Welsh
Be,
or Welsh with an E or with Walsh?
with the E.
WELSH.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I would feed that headline to ChatGPT and be like, okay, here's what I do. I'm trying to write a headline like that. Here's where most leaders that come to me are at or how they feel when we start. And here's how I make them feel or like the outcomes that I help them experience once we start working together, just to kind of paint that transformation in the headline.
Okay. Because Chat GPT keeps telling me putting all this stuff in, and I keep saying keep it simple. And
Yes, you have to
Chat
slap
GPT
ChatGPT in the
says you
face.
have a killer. He said to me, "You've got a killer set of accreditations here." I'm like, but that's not the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the logos. I
Yes.
like the CTA. I think the subheadline's good. Like you
Yes.
said, you can switch it from German to just European. Instead of twice monthly every Tuesday, I would say twice monthly on Tuesdays. Uh, that way they're not confused if it's every
Right.
week or twice monthly.
Yep.
And then, yeah,
I was just gonna say real quick, Carla, because I know thinking about copy is hard, and that's the whole name of the game. If you want, though, while you think of that transformational headline that we were talking about, I think a very easy and simple headline that you can just run with immediately could be how to become a confident leader in the AI era. That alone already is much more clear and compelling. That it's I think it's what you're trying to say there in the headline. It's just a little bit more articulated and
That's too long, isn't it, Danny?
no, it's not too long.
that was
It's
a short
okay.
It had
one.
to be short.
No, the short answer is it doesn't really matter, because if you're saying something interesting, people will read it. It's not a length problem.
Hmm? I
Yes.
was trying to make it super short for the SEO and all that stuff. Okay.
That's
Yeah.
pretty short. How to become a confident leader in the AI era. That's
Yes.
a relatively short headline.
Yes.
Well, leading
You
in
can
the
add a lot
AI
more.
era is even short, but you guys say it doesn't matter. Okay.
Yes.
And the pre-headline, this kind of pain points, struggling to balance AI efficiency with leadership. So I'm bringing together those two things and talking about a pain point there. Hopefully then getting people then all on board with that.
Yeah.
And leadership, that's my thing, human leadership.
Yeah.
And it's also about how to become and stay human.
Yeah.
Also, that's why I work with art.
Yep.
But okay.
No, that all of those other pieces I think are great. I think you're on the right track. I think the headline was where you could do the most of the heavy lifting in terms of edits. But after the suggestions that we shared here, I think you should be in a great spot. And as I said, like, this is a work in progress. This is not the last time you edit and tweak the copy. It's probably one of the first times. You'll just get more clarity as you continue to write more content, get more feedback from people, learn more about the pain points that they have, and all of that good stuff.
Guys, we're over time. I think it's really, really cool that you're spending so much time with me, but I don't want to go on. I mean, I could go on, but
Well, we'll ask you, how do you feel? You feel better and more? You feel with more clarity than when we started? Talk to us real quick.
real quick. I feel, let's say I'm getting there. It's still a very challenging, challenging in order to present myself with what I can do in a way that is attractive and a way that doesn't compromise too much.
Yeah.
Um,
You want it to be representative of who you are and make sure that it looks that way. I totally understand that. So let's just do a quick recap so we can kind of summarize, put it all together. So on the content side, the biggest piece of leverage that you have is just writing more. So posting more frequently.
yes.
on the LinkedIn profile side, you have a couple of decisions to make. So one is if you want to write in English or if you want to write in German. Another is like kind of fixing that Dutch versus English version so that people are seeing the right one.
Yeah.
And then on the profile, basically, I think we got pretty close, but you're still probably going to need to tweak a little bit and decide if you want to keep art in there at all.
Yeah, I'm going to take it out because
Yep,
it's got to
cool.
be more focused. Yeah.
So that's awesome that you made that decision just right on the call. That was a big one. And then on the landing page, oh, and I guess the other thing was on the LinkedIn bio, just making sure to add the credibility. So you've said all those names of logos, like just add those names in your bio.
Yes.
I promise that will give you so much credibility and make you stand out.
Where should I add all those names?
So right there where Daniel's highlighting, worked with Toyota, worked with, and then you just list them.
My bio, but not in my profile.
Just in your bio.
In my bio. Okay.
Yep.
And then for the landing page, switching the headline so it's a little bit more clear and transformation focused. But the rest of it looked pretty good. Anything I'm missing there, Daniel, as far as summary?
No, I think that's it. I think just as a final reminder, Carla, I think a lot of people underestimate the clarity and how helpful it is actually to just write more content. But it's personally, I found it's the single best, most effective forcing function for you to refine that messaging, refine how you present yourself, because it's just reps, and like the more reps you put in, the sharper your messaging and the ideas that you're sharing and the feedback. Also, you get more feedback from people and what's resonating and what's not, and that ultimately compounds very quickly, and that's how you end up with a more clear bio. That's how you know what to speak to on your landing page. That's all of that clarity, at least for me, comes from just writing a lot of content and seeing how it's resonating with people. So I think that's the single biggest thing that I would try to work on.
Yeah, there's one last thing you were talking about. I should take out visit my website and
Yes.
instead of that, book a call, right?
Oh yes. So
Change.
basically the trade-off is obviously you could have these buttons. That's all good, and that's gonna help you build your email list and get people on the newsletter. But if you want to start landing clients sooner than later, then you might want to consider just sending people to a Calendly link or some sort of like book a call page.
Can I do both?
You can, but that's gonna kind of slow down the results because there's two options and you kind of split the traffic in half at least. And so, Matthew,
The way if you want to do both, so I just want to point out that view my services button. So if you scroll down to your posts, scroll down to your post really quick, you see how the view my services, it shows up on every single post. So that's the primary, you see that button that Daniel's hovering over?
Yeah, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so because you're using a custom button that shows up, instead of saying view my services, I would just say book an appointment. So I would switch the copy to book an appointment, and I would send people directly to schedule a call with you.
Yes.
That's where.
Sorry, do I have that since I now have premium? Because I signed up for premium a few weeks ago. Is that where this comes from?
I know you get that with premium. I think other people might have it. I don't know if it's just with premium or not.
Okay, good.
But anyway, most of your clicks, like people that are checking out your sites, it's going to come through your actual posts. And so making sure that like button is the primary action you want people to take. So probably in your case, book a call or book an appointment would make a lot of sense. But if you want to capture some email subscribers, then what I do is on the featured section right there, I would have the two things instead of the what I said earlier about newsletter and the post. I would just have the book a call page again, so the exact same one that you're sharing everywhere else. And then second, I would have your newsletter landing page.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I'm going to have a look at your book a call, Matthew.
And that's like the way that I just described how to do it is exactly how I have my profile outlaid. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Well,
Helpful,
Awesome.
Carla?
yeah.
Feeling good
I'm-
going into the weekend? Got a little extra clarity?
I got a little extra clarity. Yeah. I've
Good.
got this copy also worked on for gave it to my webmaster, who's finally understood the idea of what this means about fold, although it's not a thing that people do here, guys. So here's it's a blue ocean here in
That's an
Europe.
advantage. Yes, exactly.
And it's an advantage for me. And
Yes.
seriously, I went online and I asked ChatGPT, show me Germans that have this in their website. And there were so few. And the one that then, there was two, and one of them was like a bodybuilder. And
Nice.
they had not anything for their website, for their email. They had something for book a call. So it's a little bit different.
Yep.
And I'm hoping, Daniel, also, I'm going to get your mails
Yes.
in order to put together that automated email
Sequence. Yes.
funnel system. And I'm looking forward to doing that. So,
Awesome. Well,
guys, thank you very much.
of course.
And I hope you have a great Friday. Appreciate this very much. And moving forward, yeah, you guys are really great. Thank you.
Thanks, Carla.
Thank you,
This was
Carla.
really fun.
Yes. Glad it was helpful. And yeah, we'll look forward to chatting here soon.
And please don't forget, I see that you have a Google Doc there, but I would be
I'll-
interested
Yes,
in
I'll send
the
that over
recording.
right away.
Yeah,
I'll send that
that's
over
really
right away.
helpful. Really, really helpful. Okay.
Cool. Well,
Great.
happy
Thanks
Friday.
a lot, guys.
Thanks, Carla.
Cheers.
Enjoy the
Bye-bye.
weekend.